Now you have 3 new ones at your place, hopefully. If I didn't miss you, you have 3 new forms. We'll take the easy one first. When the whole evaluation system is over, you will have a chance to vote for one person as the best evaluator. And you'll be asked to give some little comment as to why you cast that ballot the way you did. The people eligible to be considered on that voting are the 3 members of the evaluation team, the grammarian, and time for review and renew, not the general evaluator, right? Yes, okay, the grammarian and the 3 members of the evaluation team. That's all there is to it with that ballot. You wait till the end, cast it, and pass it along. The other forms now, you have 2 more forms on your place, and they should be labeled for evaluator number 1, or 2, or 3. And my particular strategy is to make them both the same, so it's sort of a forced selection. You're told who to evaluate. When the evaluators come up here to do their thing, they'll be in these seats. Evaluator number 3 will be in this one. Evaluator number 2 and evaluator number 1. The speaker will be here, but that's not part of what we're talking about now. So your assignment is to evaluate the person who's sitting in the chair that corresponds to the number that's on the forms in front of you. What could be more simple? There's a list on the back of the form to show 10 behaviors of an effective evaluator. And if you will use those, pick 1 or 2 that you think the speaker either exemplified in an outstanding way, or where you can think of some way where they might have approached this goal a little better. That's what you put on your evaluation form. Not a complete evaluation, 1 or 2 helpful hints. Pass that along. That's all there is to it. Other than that, don't worry about the paperwork. Just scribble it in there when the time comes. The rest of the time, lean back and enjoy. I hope that's helped. We'll get to it. Our first evaluation team, led by Caroline Baker, will come up here and will provide their evaluation to Margaret, who will position herself right here. Caroline, please take it away.
Thank you. And as a reminder, I'd like to remind everybody not to be moving around too much in their chairs because it really does affect the videography. As the team as Team 1 evaluation leader, I am responsible for contacting the speaker and generally getting some objectives from her. For our team to do the evaluations, she uses the manual, and in addition to that, I had asked her to follow up with me and the others about how you prepare for something like this, because I was really pretty curious. And we've heard this type of speech just last month. However, Margaret wasn't there, so she doesn't know how Jane did it last month. So the objectives include develop an awareness of situations in which you might be able to speak. How do you do that for this particular speech? And what she did is she came up with some very intriguing titles based on her experience in business, in legal, and her volunteering on boards and teaching in the classrooms. So her goal was she must pick 5 topics that would interest all of us, and we're a very diverse group, as you've all in our introduction explained. She was also how to understand impromptu speaking, and as Toastmasters and experienced Toastmasters, we're aware that we have table topics. In this particular club, we do not do table topics, but she had to review the knowledge that she has already and the experiences, and then how would that relate to who she was going to be speaking to. just like you would a table topics topic. And then skill, as an impromptu speaker, what kinds of patterns, and that's going to be covered by Keith. What I want to say to you, Margaret, is thank you for intriguing topics. However, there was one that was far more intriguing than the other. Divorce, getting divorce out of the courtroom. I had no idea what that was about, but as based on your speech, what a fabulous thing mediation is, and that's what I've learned today. And I want to thank you for the way that you arranged it, because you started out the way that it was presented so that it was clear and organized as far as I was concerned. And I appreciated the way that you use colorful language, and some of those things will be covered by a grammarian, but I just really want to talk about the tornado in lives and ripping away, and the very end was fabulous with a gentle storm of divorce. That's what mediation is all about. One of the things that I would like to suggest is that you make things in smaller sentences so that we can really grasp and engage. And the reason for that is, and the vocal variety, and the reason for that is you tried to speak to all of us and you gave us wonderful imagery. However, I would like a little more punch, I think, besides the words, a little more punch with each and every sentence that you gave us those colorful words. Because divorce is awful. And mediation is a better way to handle divorce. And I appreciate your bringing the topic to all of us.
Thank you, Caroline. Margaret, the mediator. My focus today is looking at the pattern that Margaret chose to present her information, looking at her manner of organization, looking at how clear and definite her message was, and looking at how Margaret chose to draw upon her background to present the topic. Margaret, I want to thank you also, to echo some of Caroline's words, for picking this type of project and bringing your experience, your knowledge, and your street cred to the topics. That you bring that, and you hinted at it in this course of your speech. You talked about the fact that you are an attorney. You talked about the fact that you went through a divorce. That brings some street cred. Because it's an impromptu speech, what I'm going to share my feedback today is what you did well with this being an impromptu speech, and a couple of tips to keep in the back of your pocket when you get asked in the future. If it was a prepared speech, you would have given the Toastmaster more detail about your street cred, your attorney life, and if you practice law, dealing with marriage and divorce, and then also maybe a little bit more about your own divorce. So I encourage you to bring that into an impromptu speech. So I want to hear more about that. And what I think would have helped in presenting the information, you notice it took only 6 minutes and we had 7, is to make it a story. To tell us the story of Margaret's divorce. What was negative about your experience? I'm assuming you went to a court-decided divorce. So tell us what was negative about that, and then why you favor mediation. Or if you went through mediation yourself, and talk about that from your story, because if you have clients who went through divorce, then you don't have to worry about violating attorney-client privilege and all of that. So just tell us your story and then go into your facts. That's some great detail. I want to talk about the opening, just setting up the history of marriage. It's only been the last 300 years that people have chosen their marriage. That was a great setup to lay the groundwork for what you've shared ultimately about why you choose mediation. Use the fact that you know your audience from the poll to set up what I missed was the Wickham statement and the main statement. This is why I'm going to tell you this information. So maybe something like, some of you may be thinking, well, I don't want to hear about divorce, because not everybody voted for that #1. So I'm going to share this information with you today because X, Y, and Z. You can help a family or friend who's going through divorce, whatever the reason is. So use that in the opening as well, but you have a good start. The information, you definitely had a street cred, you definitely had a clear, definite message on what you consider mediation for divorce as opposed to a court-decided divorce. What might be helpful, you mentioned some stats, mentioned a couple more. So here's the average cost of a court-decided divorce, $8,000 to $10,000, attorney fees, etc. Here's that comparable cost if you do mediation. Maybe it's hard to remember all the stats as an impromptu speech, but maybe just have that one in particular because of its selling point, as well as the softer side of it you did include. The conclusion, again, the call to action, so to speak, to consider using mediation, and maybe even if you aren't selling something else, even if it's not divorce, consider mediation as another way to settle. Again, drawing in the audience who's not focused on divorce. Great presentation overall. Thanks so much for sharing that with us.
Thank you, Margaret. Congratulations on finishing your off-the-cuff project. I remember doing this, and it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be, but for the first time, not knowing what you're going to talk about when you come in. It's a little nerve-wracking, and I understand that. And I think of this in terms of you're in a function or somewhere somebody's asking you to step in and talk about something for a minute, and I thought you did a great job at that. I was supposed to evaluate how you gave us your credentials as to why we should be listening to you speak, and I kept going, okay, so she's a lawyer. Well, what kind of lawyer? Well, you didn't give that to me right away, but further down the story, mediation lawyer. And then you said, before that you said, and I was divorced, I went through the divorce. So you didn't give it to us all at once, which I thought was really interesting, and that's what I was looking for. So I was really surprised. I went, wow, I've never heard anybody do it that way before, and I really thought it worked. I liked the information coming in pieces as you presented your stories and examples of what you were talking about in your speech. Great confidence. I thought you had huge, huge confidence. Your eye contact was amazing. And the way you used the floor, you kept walking around and you were looking at everybody and your gestures were bringing us in and then pointing the finger. But you didn't point it at anybody. You pointed it to make a point. So so good use of pointing the finger. Facts and opinions. I think that for me, I think you gave enough facts and opinions because it was an off-the-cuff speech. If you were going to prepare to give that as a topic, then yes, then I would want to know how much does the divorce cost and how much money could we save and how many cases could we move in and faster because divorce is not taking up the time in the court. Then I think that would be appropriate. And in this case, I think it was appropriate because it was off the cuff. It was just giving us information about something we hadn't thought about. And I liked how you gave us instances where it would not be good, like if there was cases of abuse and criminal activity. That was very pertinent, and I think that made it more believable, made you more believable in what you were presenting to us. The audience was very focused on you. Those who weren't looking at you were taking notes. So I think you did engage everybody, and it was a lot of fun. And the things that you didn't pick up, I picked up. I didn't hear the ones you said. I said, stranger in a black robe, find a new relationship. I thought that was really interesting in creating in the divorce settlement, find your new relationship between the two of you, and remnant of caring. Thank you very much, Margaret. Yeah, nice job.
Well, thank you all for really thorough evaluation. I have to tell you, when I put my topics together, I said, I got to throw something lawyerly in there. They'll never pick it. I was stunned when you told that. I honestly was stunned. I thought, what? They want me to talk about that? And then I go into my very serious mode, which is not, I have to work then when I'm speaking as a lawyer to remember to become pleasant and do the non-lawyerly things, which you picked up on. I particularly appreciate, Keith, your comments about the fact that I really missed the boat in not pointing out mediation is available for all kinds of disputes today. And I really appreciate that comment because that was a big gaffe on my part. I have to share with you, Edward is in my home club and he knows I always go overtime. And so my current goal is to please stay under time. And I'm working on that so hard. I was so proud that I was only to 6 minutes. So I could have added more, but I purposely was trying to keep it brief, keep it short, stay within 7 minutes, Margaret, because when I get on topics I know, and I'm very passionate about this one, I'll go on and on and on. So I have to tell you, that's part of why I didn't say as much as I should have. But thank you for your very thoughtful comments, and I appreciate how carefully you listened to me. Thank you all.
Now we have 2 minutes from the membership to see if you have any feedback that you'd like to share with Margaret. If you have, raise your hand and we'll call on you. Yes, Robbie.
It's a serious topic, so a suggestion I have for you, Margaret, is that think about some sort of a skit or a humor that you can plug in to prove a point. For instance, 2 parties fighting and mediation helping you out without going through that big fight in the court, but through a outside the courtroom settlement.
Anybody else? Yes, Bonnie.
I shared this with her alone, but I was glad that she did make the comment that while mediation is outstanding, and I totally wished I could have had it, it doesn't work for everyone.
Anybody else? Pat.
I want to congratulate you. Even on a more serious topic, your level of enthusiasm and engagement in the topic was hugely evident. Not that you were laughing all over the place, but you could hear the passion and the enthusiasm. I was drawn in by that.
Anybody else?
We could have listened for a while longer.
Really, it was sincere, it was compelling.
Yes,
My
Bonnie.
attention.
To piggyback on what Pat was saying, I agree about the enthusiasm. I also would say that when you talk about it as being too serious a topic, the thing is to get us to believe she has to speak like a lawyer. That's my thought.
Dave?
I would say if you're interested in more of this mediation practice, you might want to arrange to get your video up on the internet someplace where it'll turn up.
Unfortunately, I'm retired.
Well, thank you all for participating. We appreciate all the feedback. Thank you.